So one of the best things about being retired is that you get to watch a lot of movies. And I don't always watch the most current movies. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll watch something that I haven't seen, something that's 30, 40, 50 years old. And this last week, I watched a great movie called Defending Your Life. The movie stars Albert Brooks, who I just love. And he's a fairly young guy, just picked up his new BMW convertible, he's bipping down the street, enjoying his tunes, got the top down, Southern California, and he reaches down into his seat and speeds straight into a bus and gets killed. So after he gets killed, he doesn't go to heaven, he goes to kind of a way station. It's a place of judgment, and he has to defend his life. He actually has a trial where they focus on 9 separate days of his life. There's a prosecutor and there's a defense attorney. He has to justify the things that he's done, and the prosecutor goes after him. And one of the things that's really interesting about the movie is that he has to defend days when he's only 9 or 10 years old, and the way that he acts in certain situations. It's difficult to put it into words how he feels when he's watching these days of his life in retrospect, and it's really cool. And it made me think about how I would react if I had to defend certain days of my life. If you took the 9 or 10 worst days of my life and you put them on video and had me watch them back, and I had to defend some of the things that I've done, it would be tough. And I think we'd all go through that. I'd like to sit here and tell you that I've never done anything bad in my life, but we all know that's not true. I don't think it's true for anybody. One of the worst things that I did, and something I'm not proud of, when my brother was in high school, I think I was a sophomore or a junior, and he wanted to dunk a basketball. He weighed about 125 pounds, and I was a pretty big guy. I was over 200 pounds, and I was lifting weights pretty heavy. I said, I think I can make that happen. So I grabbed my brother Jeff by the hips and say, all right, I'm gonna throw you up there, dunk it. I threw him up too hard, and he actually hit his head on the rim, and it made him sprawl backwards, and he put his arm down to catch himself, and you guessed it, broke his arm in 2 places. So I take him home. Mom rushes him to the hospital. The only person who was not mad at me, I was even mad at myself. I got so mad I put my fist through a wall of the doctor's office. Jeff comes out of there and he's like, hey, it's okay. You were just trying to help me dunk a basketball. And he never held a grudge about that, ever. Never brought it back on me. And I always appreciated that, even though I never really totally forgave myself for doing that. Another thing I did, we were much younger. I was probably 10, 11 years old. My youngest brother, John, we were outside playing, just running around like kids do in the summertime. And I picked up this stick, it was about that big around, a good sized stick. And I just whipped it over my shoulder. And I wasn't trying to, I didn't even know he was back there, but the stick, of course, hit my brother John right here in the forehead. And if you ever watch pro wrestling, and I'm sure you all do, a lot of times wrestlers will take a little razor blade, and they'll just cut that little vein in her forehead and just makes it bleed like crazy. Well, that's where the stick hit my brother John, and blood just gushed all over his face, and I honestly thought I'd killed him. Our next door neighbor, because it was in front of her house, Mrs. Schaefer, she threw John in the car, rushed him to the hospital, and they put a little butterfly bandage on there, closed it up. I don't even think he had any stitches. Of course, I'm at home, I'm laying on the couch, curled up in a ball, crying my eyes out, and my brother shows up, and he looks at me, and he's just got that little tiny bandage on his head, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, Jim, I'm fine. Everything's cool. And he never held a grudge about that either. And it makes me realize that I've got 2 awesome brothers and a wonderful family. And it also makes me realize that thinking back on the bad things that you've done in your life is a no-win situation. We all have things we're not proud of, and it just makes us feel bad when you think of those times. And I think the best thing you can do is just live every day and try to help people, do the best job that you can, try to be a good person. You roll out of bed, your feet hit the floor, you better be running. You better be doing something to contribute to make life better for somebody else. And I think it's important to always keep that in the back of your mind and to try to do that whenever you can. So thank you very much for listening. This is probably my last video before Christmas. So I just want to say to everybody out there, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I love you guys. Talk to you soon.